Hi friends, and welcome to this week's episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might notice I'm in a different location. You might hear some interesting sounds, hopefully some ocean sounds, because I'm actually on vacation, and who knows what else you might hear outside. But I wanted to talk to you today about an amazing technology that we have just introduced into our office. I actually waited a while to bring Morpheus8 into the office because I've told you this before, and it really is true. I never introduce any product or service or procedure unless I've had it done myself, because there's so much snake oil out there and so many different products prey on our vulnerabilities, and I definitely don't want this to be one of them. But I did try Morpheus8 myself, actually, because so many patients told me about it and so many people asked me about it. So did a bunch of research, had it done myself. I actually flew to Dallas and had the procedure done a couple of times to see if it really works. And it really is a viable, really good procedure. So I'm happy to talk to you about it today. So what is Morpheus8? Now, this is a brand name, and certainly there are other technologies in the same field. But these are technologies that are designed primarily for skin tightening. So who cares about that? Well, some of us do. I mean, I know it's probably vain, and I do believe in growing old gracefully. But for example, I had 3 kids, like many of you, and as we get older, our skin elasticity changes so that it can get a little bit crepey. Like even on the arms, you can see, I have that normal thin, wrinkly skin. And one of my personal pet peeves, I'm a runner, is when I run, I get this wrinkly skin above my knees. And one of the things I hate the most is when people take photographs of me finishing a race, which is a really fun thing that happens if you do any type of organized race. You get finisher pictures, and 9 out of 10 of mine, if they take a picture of me when my foot's hitting the ground, I'll get this like jiggle of skin above my knees. And okay, we're very privileged to think that that's a problem, but we do live in this world where it's okay to think about changing those things if it improves our quality of life. So skin tightening is one of the things that's always been really challenging, because you can surgically tighten skin, but you end up with big incisions and it's surgery. And so anything that can non-surgically tighten skin, is something to consider. So how does this work? Well, Morpheus8 and some other similar technologies uses radio frequency, which is an energy source. So for example, a different energy source could be laser, but radio frequency is an energy source that creates heat. So there's a little square, and I'm going to show you some videos of how it's done. A little square with 24 needles that punch through the skin in these little squares that are about 1 inch wide. So going across the skin, and we'll show you how that's done coming up in a moment, that pierce the skin with hot needles. Now this does sound painful, doesn't it? So I'll talk to you about pain management with the procedure, to a variable depth. So the Morpheus8 needles can be adjusted. So if we're treating thinner skin, like on the face or neck, or like on my forearms, for example, we might use 1 or 2 millimeters of needle length. And if we're treating areas with more fat, like the abdomen, inner thighs, above the knees, we might go even to 4 millimeters or more. So if you think in inches, 4 millimeters is almost half a centimeter, which is about 1/4 of an inch. So it's pretty deep, and 24 little punches with each hole. So you end up with thousands of little holes in your skin. So how does this work? Well, using heat and intentional tissue damage, which is what's done with all of these type of procedures like laser or microneedling. We're intentionally damaging the tissue to stimulate our own body's growth factors to come in. They come in with their firefighters to heal the tissue, and they lay down new tissue much more quickly than that could occur on its own. Or as we age, that just doesn't occur on its own. We're in a constant process of losing collagen and losing elasticity. So these type of procedures actually stimulate our body to create more collagen, and that improves the elasticity of the skin and gives an appearance of some tightening. Now, when we're going to depths of 4 millimeters, we're actually getting into the subcutaneous fat as well. And Morpheus8 is absolutely not a procedure for fat burning or weight loss. It's not. It's only to treat the skin. However, as a side effect, when we're going to those deeper levels in the abdomen or inner thighs, we do actually see a little bit of fat loss from underneath the skin because these needles are really hot. and fat melts at high temperature. So over time, when those areas are treated, you can see a little bit of fat loss and improvement in the appearance of cellulite and things like that, but primarily we're using it for skin tightening. Some other side effects are it can help with skin texture and also with scarring. So it can also be used for treating things like stretch marks or even acne scars. But in our office, we really are focusing on it primarily for skin tightening, because let's face it, we're treating patients like you, people like you, women who have had children. We're in our 40s or older. Many of us have had children. Many of us have lost weight. Anything that causes our skin to become looser, or certainly just with time, age, and gravity, we can develop that annoying loose skin. So yes, is this a very privileged situation to think this is a problem, and are all bodies beautiful as they are? Absolutely. So this is not something that you need to do, but if there are little areas that bother you, and one of the most common ones, I mentioned the above the knees thing, super common, is the skin under the chin. Now, I've actually had my chin treated, so it's looking pretty good right now. But as we get older, you know, this is one of those things that can tell our age, right? We can do a lot of things to our face, but the neck, as they say, often can give away our age, and who cares about that? I'm very proud to be 55, but I do enjoy having tighter skin under my neck. It's just one of the things that makes you feel good in the morning when you look in the mirror. So I'm going to show you a little video of how the Morpheus8 procedure is done. And in this little video, we're actually treating a patient's legs. So you can see how it's done in the little squares of pop, pop, pop in a little row. So the tissue actually turns red over the squares where we've been. And so you can see, it's kind of like painting. You can see where we've been and where we're going. And we usually do 3 passes on a thicker area like on the thighs in this particular patient. I'll also show you a picture of what my face looked like after I had it done. So it looks red, of course, because your body generates a lot of a histamine response, which is a response that brings in a lot of blood vessels. So we do look red, a little sunburn for about 3 to 5 days. And those little squares can remain on your skin. I'll show you a picture of my tummy after it got treated. I had these little red squares for probably a week or 2. So we do have to keep in mind, even though there's no downtime, you can literally drive yourself home from the office, there is a little bit of a cosmetic appearance of redness that you want to keep an eye on. So you wouldn't want to have this done on your tummy if you're planning on wearing a bikini in the next couple of weeks. For the face, you can really cover it with makeup in about 48 hours. Because we're punching holes in the skin, we do recommend not using any products or makeup for 48 hours because there are holes in the skin and we want to give those time to close. So what's it like to get this done? Well, as you can see, I've had it done, and punching holes in the skin with hot needles is uncomfortable. So we use a very strong topical local anesthetic that we cover the area that we're going to treat and leave it there for about 45 minutes. And it really does take about that long to get the tissue to be numb. Now, the topical lidocaine doesn't penetrate the skin to 5 millimeters. So even with that, if you're doing one of the deeper body areas, you are going to feel some discomfort. Some of our patients might want to take Valium beforehand if you have someone to drive you home. Some use nitrous oxide, which we have in our office. These are all options. I did it without anything. I think if you're someone with a reasonable pain tolerance, if you're someone who has had Botox or lip filler or any of these things done, we just know it's going to be a little uncomfortable. It's really no big deal, and the treatment does take about 45 minutes, so it is something that you want to keep in mind. If you've got a very, very low pain tolerance, we'd want to put together a plan of how we're going to manage that for you during the procedure. Afterwards, I found it really felt like a sunburn, so when you take a shower, it burns a little bit, it feels a little hot and red for about 24 hours. So what kind of results can you expect? Well, I'll show you some pictures of before and afters for the chin. That's the area that we see the most dramatic results. And I'm still working on my 3rd procedure, so I can show you pictures of my knees and tummy after I'm finished being treated. But it really does give good results. And because it's based on building collagen, like anything, it doesn't last forever. So your collagen is going to break down again with time. So it's something that you probably want to do about annually, which is a bit of a pain in the neck, but on the other hand, it spares you from having surgery if that was your other option. So Morpheus8 is the best in the field for the technologies of skin tightening, and having researched all of them, that definitely is the one that you'll see coming up everywhere as being the current best choice for skin tightening. So we would recommend doing 3 treatments about a month apart. Now, depending on the body part, sometimes you might want to do more than that, but generally 3 treatments around a month apart is going to get the results that you can expect. And then there is also an option, because of course we are putting holes in the skin and it's porous for a short time, of using either platelet-rich plasma or umbilical-derived growth factors to put on top once we finish the procedure, and that really does help get better results. So we've talked about PRP a lot. Just a review, platelet-rich plasma is derived from your own blood. So we would draw your blood, and then it's spun down with a centrifuge to get all the red and white cells out, and then what's left is plasma, which is densely rich in platelets. So wherever that is injected under the skin, or it can soak into these holes, because you've got to perforate the skin. If you just put it on top of your skin, it can't get in. But when you've done a microneedling procedure and you put PRP on top, we just put it on top like you would put on a sunscreen or a moisturizer. It soaks into those holes. What happens naturally is our platelets aggregate and they set off a chain of growth factors and our own body's stem cells to stimulate whatever is in that area. So underneath the skin, that is going to be stimulating collagen. So it does work a little bit better than your own body's natural processes. Although you can do Morpheus8 just by itself, we recommend or offer adding platelet-rich plasma or umbilical-derived growth factors. And let me tell you why you might choose the second option. As we get older, our growth factors diminish in number dramatically. So if you look at the number of growth factors in platelet-rich plasma from, say, a 20-year-old compared to a 60-year-old, it drops by several 100%. It drops quite precipitously. So the PRP from a 60-year-old, or I'm 55, or from myself is going to be way less potent than the PRP from a 20-year-old. So for our patients over 50, or even over 40, frankly any age, a consideration is to use growth factors that came from a newborn baby's umbilical cord. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but science is really getting to be in the, kind of space age type technology now, isn't it? So how do we get umbilical-derived growth factors? Well, full-term, healthy pregnancies that are delivered by C-section. Those of you who have children know that usually the placenta and the attached umbilical cord is just thrown in the rubbish, which is such a waste, because inside the placenta and umbilical cord is an incredible density of growth factors and stem cells that can be harvested. So mothers in certain hospitals are offered the opportunity to donate their placenta, and they're fully consenting, tested for every disease and virus under the sun, and then the placenta is donated to an FDA-approved cord blood bank. And then from there, various companies buy the product to do whatever they do with it. So it can be used for cancer treatment, it can be used for orthopedic injuries, wound healing, burn healing, hair growth, facial restoration, skin tightening, all of these different applications. So one can buy a little vial of umbilical-derived growth factors and use that instead of PRP. So for somebody, say, who is 60, you're going to see more than 100 times the number of growth factors in the umbilical-derived vial versus your own PRP. So it just gives it a bit of a boost. Not too long ago, this stuff was so expensive that it made it completely unaffordable for most people. But now this is such a commonplace thing to donate placentas and to harvest the growth factors that it's actually relatively inexpensive. So it's only a few $100s more if you chose to use the umbilical-derived growth factor. So that is a pretty cool option. So we're actually using it anywhere that we would have used PRP. So for example, in an O-shot, which many of you know is injecting PRP into the clitoris and the surrounding tissue, you can also use the umbilical-derived growth factors for that. And the last couple of times I personally had an O-shot, I used that, and as you guys know, I'm 55, and it really did work better. And it lasts longer. So that's just something to consider. I mean, the stuff we have available now is just amazing, isn't it? So Morpheus8 plus or minus PRP and or umbilical-derived growth factors is a really great option if you've got some areas of loose skin that are just bothering you. And is there anything wrong with you? Of course not. We all have this. These are the scars and badges of childbirth and weight loss and aging, so keep them if you want to, but I really don't like looking at those photos of myself crossing the finish line with my wrinkly knees. And is that a very privileged, spoiled problem to have? Of course it is, but hey, we have something that can help with that. So if it helps your self-esteem, if it allows you to wear shorts or a bikini when you couldn't otherwise do that, there's nothing wrong with it. Honestly, I support everyone making her own choices about her own body, and I have chosen to do this myself, and I'm really happy about it. So check it out. We have Morpheus8 now available in the office. There's a link to the information that's on our website about Morpheus8 below. And if you have any questions or comments about that, you can put them in the box below. Any other topics that you'd like to hear about, I'd love to talk to you about them. So put those in the comment box below too. And if you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends, and I can't wait to see you next week.